Welcome back to another video. This will be regarding the constraint child of. So we're going to create the following. We have the delta robotic arm picking the crate, position it over here, and afterwards it will move without that box being constrained. So let's get started. I will create a new scene, and over here within BlenderKit I will type ABB, and I'm going to click on this ABB robot. I will select the default cube over here. Let me also enable screencast keys, and I will scale this to 0.15. Afterwards I also want to move this to be on top of the ground floor. Now I can also enable the texture over here, and I can hide this. So we have the cube over here. Let's say that initially it will be added over here. You're going to see over here, this will be the working range for the robotic arm. So let's expand the timeline over here. Also, since I scale this, if I will go with the cube over here within the transform, we're going to see that the scale is not at 1 over here. So we can apply that. We can go to object, apply. We can apply the scale, or we can apply all the transforms, and that will zero out the location, the rotation, and we'll add 1 for the scaling. Now let's define the animation. This ABB robot will be rigged. That means I can go within pose mode. I can also press Ctrl Tab to go within pose mode. So let's define the animation. We are going to control this section over here. And if I will press G and enter, this will give me over here a keyframe. You can also press I, and that will add those keyframes. So within frame 1, the robot will be over here. And up to frame 30, I would like this to go on this axis. So I press G, afterwards X for the axis, and I will slightly position this above the crate of the box. I will press I in order to add that keyframe. So you're going to take a look. This will be the first movement. Starting from frame 31, I will press I again, and all the way to frame 60. I will want this to move until those suction cups will be close to the box, or something like this. Again, I will press I in order to add that keyframe. And we can check the movement. This will be the movement. So starting from this frame, let's say 61, I will want this to go back up on the z-axis all the way to frame 90, for example. So let me just redo that, and I want this to be moved over here initially. I can also move it on X, and if I will press I now, Blender will do an interpolation. As you can see, this will move over here on both axes, even though until now I only added movements on single axis. Let's say that now, starting from frame 91 all the way to 120, I will want this to move on the X axis over here. I'll press I, and starting from 121 all the way to 150, I will press 1 in this case in order to see the front view, and I will want this to go on roughly the same level as before. So I'm going to press I again, and we have the robotic arm movement. Now, starting from frame 151, I will want this to go up. So let's say that initially 30 frames, the robotic arm will go over here. I'm going to press I again, and afterwards this will go back to the center area over here, and again I will press I. Now if I will go from the default, from the start, if I press spacebar, we're going to see that movement over here. And now we need to animate that constraint off. So in order to do that, we need to leave the pose mode. So I will go over here within object mode with the box selected. For example, if I will scroll all the way to frame 16, I will go over here within constraints. I will add an object constraint, and I will choose child of. we're going to say that we need to select a target. So over here, I will just select one of the suction cups over here on the robot. And this will be the movement. As we can see now, since we have the value over here, influence 1, that means that this will be linked on all the animation. So we don't want that. We want this to be at 0. But I will also click over here on set inverse, because I want this to start with that position inverse. So initially we won't gonna see any difference, but let's see. I will go to frame 59 by pressing the arrow key to the left, and I will go over here on top of the influence, and I will type I, and that will give me a keyframe. But I also want to change the value. So before I'm gonna add that, I'm gonna add 0, enter, and now I'm gonna press I again. That means from 0 to 59, we're gonna have the influence set to 0. And as we can see, it will no longer move the box. But as soon as we're gonna reach frame 60, over here the influence will be 1. So I'm gonna go over here, type in 1, afterwards press I in order to add that. And we're gonna see that the robotic arm will now pick the box starting from this. And I will go all the way to 150. And over here, I will press N. And we have the following situation over here. We will need to add a keyframe for those locations over here. And we're going to need to swap this back to 0. So if I will type in one I over here, one over here, one as well over here, I will go over here onto the influence, and I will type in that I. So this will be influence 0. And now I will go to frame 151. And I need to apply the visual transform. So I'll go to apply, visual transform. We're going to see that this position will now jump over here. But I will move over the location. I will type in I. And for the influence, this needs to be set to 0. So type in 0, enter. And again, I'm going to press 1 I over here. And we're going to see that starting from this location, the influence will be 0 all the way to the back. So if you're going to scrub the animation, you're going to see that it will work like this. So this is how we can use that object constraint for child off in order to move a crate. So it's really important to make sure that the influence will be only 0 or 1, and that transition will be done within the time frame of a single frame. And also keep in mind that you need to apply that visual transform, because it is quite a little bit tricky to get this started, and you need a little bit of exercise. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. I will position a similar video on the left side, and I will also add a subscribe button to the right. So that's it. Thanks for watching.